Lately, I've been noticing that people love extremes. It's always easier to say this is better than that than to actually understand the why behind each of the things and how to use both for the best outcome. And that's exactly why so many debates happen online and people are confused because you're just thinking in extremes when the best results happen in the middle, right? And that's exactly why every time somebody brings up the debate between machines versus free weights, people act like you're starting a war. And the reality is, fitness is not that simple. Machines have their purpose, free weights have their purpose, and the real magic happens when you start to understand how to utilize both strategically for your goals. So, in today's video, I'm breaking down when you should use one over the other and how to actually use each one the right way based on whatever your goal is without getting caught up in all of the noise online. Because, like I said, the best results, whether it's muscle building, getting stronger, losing weight, it's going to come from a combination of both. It's not going to come from picking sides and using one exclusively. They are going to come from operating in the gray area, so in the middle. And just to give some background and context around why this is even a video today, the other day I was scrolling on Facebook and someone asked, what do you think about using only machines? And I commented and said, machines are good, but why would you exclusively use machines? And the reason I asked that was because I just wanted context. I wanted to hear where the person was coming from because I'm the type of person that I geek out about fitness and workouts and training styles, and me giving you my thoughts on machines can go on forever. It's probably going to exceed the character limit if I'm typing, right? So instead of just blurting out my thoughts, I wanted to give a real thoughtful answer that actually helps the person that was asking, because me giving my thoughts may not be helpful for you, right? So I said that, and all hell broke loose in the comments. People started messaging me or responding to me, telling me why they only use machines and how it's so safe and it has helped them prevent injuries, like they don't get hurt on machines, blah 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 blah. And while all of that stuff has some truth behind it, it completely misses the entire picture. It misses the bigger picture. So in this video, we are going to clear it up once and for all, right? So first thing I want to say is machines aren't bad and free weights are not automatically better. Both have their purpose, both are beneficial at a certain time, a certain place, for a specific type of person. And there's going to be times where you may use one over the other, but we can't just make blanket statements and say one is completely better than the other without giving that context, which is why I asked the question to begin with that started this whole thing, right? So people love to live in extremes, like I said, and it's not really that simple. The tool that you use, whether it's a free weight or machine, it's gonna depend on your goal. It's gonna depend on your training experience, how your body moves with certain movements, your injury history, and then also what are you looking to get out of that specific exercise or movement. And it's funny when people talk about machines, typically they are just coming from a spot of fear, right? They're coming from a spot of fear. And I think that was shown in the comments because so many people were saying machines provide instructions. I'm reading word for word, by the way. Machines provide instructions and allow for better form for beginners. Somebody said, I exclusively use machines because I'm a beginner. It prevents injury. And somebody was real and said, I don't know what I'm doing in the free weight section. And when you actually unpack all those reasons, you see that most people are choosing machines over free weights simply out of fear, not because of any real programming strategy, not because it's best for what they're trying to do, not because it makes more sense. They're just operating out of fear, which is completely fine. But fear, something that is safe has nothing to do with whether or not it makes you comfortable, right? You being comfortable in a certain spot does not make something else inherently more dangerous. That's not how it works. But we've been conditioned to believe that machines are safer and they're more beginner friendly and all these things. And I can see why people are saying that, because yes, machines make it hard to mess up form, but comfort and safety are not the same thing. If you're more comfortable on a machine, then we should say that. But that does not make what somebody else is doing off the machine any more dangerous. It's just that you feel more comfortable, which is a feeling, not a fact. Too often we let our feelings dictate how we train, even, and I'm going to get off topic real quick, even when people are like, oh, I feel my quads working more than my glutes in a squat. So what can I do to make me feel my glutes? Training is not based on how you feel. Sorry to break it to you. Your muscles don't give a crap about how you feel. If you are executing the movement correctly, as in if you're doing a squat and you are lowering down, you're going through knee flexion, your knees are bending, your hips are flexing. So in order to come out of that position, you need to extend your knees, so straighten your knees, which uses your quads, and you need to extend your hips, which uses your glutes. Whether or not you feel that has nothing to do with what's working. Because if your glutes weren't working, you would not be able to straighten out your torso from a squat position, from the bottom of a squat position. So we need to learn to differentiate our feelings from facts. And that is what this whole debate is typically built on, when we should be looking at it objectively. So that was a big thing that I think people got upset about. But I say all that to say, feelings in training really don't matter. Your feelings don't matter. It's all objective. You need to train based on movement patterns, and you need to do it consistently, whether that's on a machine or free weight. But let's not act like because you're on a machine, you're doing anything that's safer. Because, like one of the comments said, machines typically provide directions. That's true. If you have directions on a machine, it's going to be harder for you to mess up that form. It's really hard to do a machine wrong because the directions are there and you don't really have much wiggle room. You sit down and you move in one plane. You can't really mess that up. But here's the thing. When it comes to getting hurt, form is not the top reason people get hurt, which people tend to forget. People get hurt and they're like, hey, maybe I did it wrong. And then if they record themselves, they see that there was nothing wrong with their form. You can get hurt, you can get injured with impeccable form. Form is not always the issue. And that just shows why injuries are so complex. They're very multifactorial, and we need to really look at the bigger picture, because most people are not getting hurt because they did something wrong. People are getting hurt because they have poor programming. So the person who's trying to grow their legs, they think more is better. So they're doing 3 or 4 squat variations and then 3 or 4 redundant lunge variations 3 times a week. And then they're complaining that their knee hurts. It's like you're doing all of this repetition for no reason. And that can happen using all machines, using free weights, or using a combination of both. So form is not always the issue when it comes to injuries. So that's totally out. Another thing that can play a role in getting hurt or injuries is poor sleep, which is going to play into the next point, poor recovery. So maybe you aren't recovering well between your sessions. Maybe you're doing too much volume in your sessions. Maybe you're doing way too many reps or way too heavy of a weight, and then it's catching up to you as the week comes to an end, or as the weeks go on, or the training block goes on. Maybe you are a single mother, or maybe you are a mother with a career with 3 or 4 toddlers, and you're getting 3 to 4 hours of sleep because you're trying to get up to work out before your kids get up and you got to take them to school, right? So that compounds over time. And now when you go to the gym, you're operating with less energy, less resources, you're under recovered, and you try to do your same exercise plan with good form on a machine and you get hurt. That's a reality for a lot of people. It's not always form, it's not always free weights. Most of the time, free weights are not the issue. You can even be under recovered because you're not fueling correctly. So many people are still eating 1,000 calories because they need to be in this huge deficit, and they don't realize that when you are going to work out, you need some sort of fuel from your body in order to perform these workouts. correctly and effectively. But if you're approaching that workout already under recovered, you're putting your body under more stress, and then when you go to work out, you're adding more physical stress to your body, and then injuries happen when your body can only hold this much capacity, and then what you're asking it to do exceeds it. That's injury. That's literally the definition of an injury. So we need to stop thinking that machines are safer than free weights just because what we've been told. Also, I just made a post about this. Somebody commented today from the same post that happened 2 days ago and was like, my PT, I don't know if they said personal, if they mean personal trainer or physical therapist, but they said my PT said that you should never use free weights if you are prone to injury. And under that logic, we shouldn't do a lot of things in life. You shouldn't go outside if you're prone to dying. You should not drive your car if you're prone to accidents. You see how dumb that sounds? You see how crazy that sounds? But this is the type of advice that is being provided to people. And then we are left with these like false beliefs around what's safe and what's dangerous. So I share all of those things to say that machines aren't inherently more safe than free weights, and free weights are inherently more dangerous than machines. Now, I'm not against machines. I just really feel strongly about people displacing the blame when instead of looking at the entire picture. But now let's get into when machines are actually useful, because the reality is machines do have a place in every program. So let's talk about when they actually make sense. So machine use makes sense when you're trying to isolate a specific muscle group. Maybe you want more control and you don't want to be limited by other factors like loss of balance, loss of stability, or compensating with other muscles. For example, I'll give my program for an example. I started doing reverse lunges with a Smith machine. I can do reverse lunges with free weights. My balance is fine. I feel stable. But I started doing them with the Smith machine because as fatigue sets in and I get closer to failure, my balance and my stability goes out the window. Like it gets harder each rep closer to failure in order to maintain good form. And right now, I am really looking to push most of my lifts really, really close to failure. Like 0 reps in reserve, 1 rep in reserve, or maybe 2 reps in reserve most on all my lifts. And I can do that a lot better with the Smith machine. Whether it's a reverse lunge or a split squat, I'm a lot more stable. If you've seen me training Bulgarian split squats, I am holding something on the same side leg that I am doing a split squat on because I want to be stable the entire time. I don't want to hit fatigue and have my balance be an issue. I want to get to true muscular fatigue without my stability or balance being the limiting factor. So that's why I'm doing reverse lunges with a Smith machine. And that's why I'm doing Bulgarian split squats, holding on to something. Do I do them without that? Yes, at times. But right now, that's not what my goal is. So I don't do it. Right. And then everybody nowadays is talking about compound movements, compound exercises. Compound exercises use a lot of big muscle groups to do the movement. So you can't just truly isolate one muscle, right? So let's say you want to truly isolate your quads. You can train quads with squats, right? Everybody knows that. But you're also using your hamstrings and your glutes. So your quads may get tired, but you'll also be fatigued in other places. So you're not truly isolating your quads. So if your goal is to truly isolate your quads, there is a better option. The better option would be a knee extension machine. So you see how when machines are going to be better than free weights, these are a couple of instances. Another reason machines could be better is when you're trying to train close to failure and you want to minimize form breakdown. So say you want to go to failure on a squat pattern. You can use the leg press instead of a heavy barbell squat and go to failure safety, because the reality is going to failure on a barbell back squat can get scary real fast, even if you set up your safeties. Because when your legs give out and that bar is going down with you, sure, you can have your safeties there, but it's a lot more comfortable and you can push to a lot closer to true failure if you were just on a leg press where you're more stable, your back is supported, you have the safety set up on the leg press, you can go to true muscular failure there, as opposed to with the barbell back squat. Sure, you get close to failure, but you're more so getting into technical failure, like your form is breaking down before you actually reach that true muscular failure. So the leg press could be a good option to use if you want to train the squat pattern close to failure. So these are the small nuances that really make a difference in when are you choosing to use machines versus free weights, not just fear. Like when we move out of fear, we limit ourselves, and that's in everything. That's not even in the gym. That's just in life in general. So we really gotta be real with ourselves and ask, why are we doing certain things? Because a lot of times we're moving out of fear, and that's limiting you from what you actually can be doing or what you actually should be doing for what you say you want. Another reason machines can be helpful is when you're rehabbing an injury, you have weight bearing precautions and you need more stability. So last week I was working with this lady who is rehabbing from an ACL reconstruction. She's like, I think 11 weeks out. And we're looking to rebuild her quad strength. She's already doing a lot of compound movements. She's squatting, she's leg pressing, she's doing split squats. But I have her doing knee extensions as well, because on these compound movements, your body can compensate. And after surgeries, especially any knee surgeries or knee injuries, your body is not going to want to use your quad the way it should. And if you put somebody on a leg press, you're going to be using your quads, your glutes, your hamstrings. So you may be able to squat or leg press really heavy, but that's not a representation of your quad strength. And in any knee recovery, especially ACL recovery, you want to regain your quad symmetry. And in order to do that, you have to really isolate your quad, because your body is smart. It's going to do whatever it needs to in order to not use that muscle the way it used to, just because of the trauma that happened to the area. So we put her on a machine and we set her up so she is doing knee extensions, and the only muscle that does knee extension is quads. So that's the only thing she has to do, and that is forcing the quad to do its job. So that's a great way to isolate a specific muscle and make sure that you are rehabbing your injury the right way and not just getting stronger, but you're really just compensating and it's not visible to the eye. So those are the three reasons I think that was three. Those are the three reasons why machines are or could be better than free weights. Now let's talk about free weights itself. So free weights are great. They build strength that transfers into real life. So every exercise, whether it's used with a free weight or a machine, they're all going to be based on 6 movement patterns that we use in our day-to-day. So squatting, so leg press, any squat variations, single leg patterns, split squats, and lunges. Those are grouped together. And those can be done on machines or they can be done with free weights. Hinge patterns, so hip thrusts, RDLs, deadlifts, those can be done on machines or free weights. Pushing exercises, so when you're pushing your body away from something, so a push-up, or you're pushing something away from your body, like a bench press, barbell bench press, dumbbell bench press, overhead press, whether it's with a dumbbell, a machine, that's a push exercise. Pull exercises, whenever you are pulling your body towards something, pull-ups, chin-ups, or when you are pulling something towards your body, think of rows, whether you're using a dumbbell or a cable column, lat pull downs, you're pulling it towards you. Those are pull patterns, right? And then core and carry, so elbow planks, side planks, farmer carries, suitcase carries, all things that require you to brace your core and use your core musculature. As you can see, whether you are using a free weight or a machine, these are the movements that the machines or the free weights are built off of. The difference with free weights is that you don't have a fixed bar path. You're not supported by the machine. You have to control the movement by yourself. That's why you can do 200 pounds on a Smith machine squat, but if you put 200 pounds on your back with a barbell, it ain't gonna feel the same. And you probably aren't gonna be able to do that unless you train up for that using free weights. You can leg press 500 pounds and still not be able to squat half of that unless you train for that. And this is because machines give you support that free weights do not. And when you think about how we move through space and how we live our life, we're not just moving on fixed paths, we're not moving on rails. We are moving through life without that type of support. And whether or not your goal is to build muscle, have a certain physique, or do any of those things, you still have to be able to move through life. And even though that may not be top of mind right now, if you're in your 20s or 30s or even 40s, it's still a real factor in your life, regardless if it's top of mind, something you think about every single day or not. And that's honestly what training should be deep down inside. So, when should you actually use free weights? Free weights should be used when your goal is maximal strength. So, think of the person who wants to compete in a powerlifting competition. When you do that powerlifting competition, there ain't no machines there. People aren't bench pressing and squatting and RDLing on the Smith machine. No, they're pulling weight off the floor, no support. They are putting a bar on their back and they're squatting without any support. They're bench pressing without any support. And if you want to be successful at that, you have to train for that. You're not just going to wake up one day and do a powerlifting competition. So if your goal is to do that, or just for your own um, happiness or your own personal goal, maybe you want to get strong at a specific lift, you have to train it that way. And using just machines is not going to get you there. When you want to improve your balance and your coordination, you should use free weights. A lot of people say, I'll just do lunges on the Smith machine because my balance is really bad. When I do them off the Smith machine, maybe it'll just get better if I use the Smith machine. Sure, you can train the lunges on the Smith machine, but if your goal is to actually improve your balance without the Smith machine, then you need to, at some point, get off the Smith machine, right? Next is when you want real world carryover. So let's say you've been crushing the leg press and RDLs on the Smith machine. You're strong in that controlled setup. You're moving heavyweight, but then one day you gotta help somebody move furniture, or maybe you gotta pick up your niece, your nephew, your grandkid, and you squat down to pick up the furniture or the kid, and suddenly you don't feel strong anymore. That's because real life does not happen on a machine. There's no backrest, there's no fixed path, there's no rail. You have to stabilize, you have to develop that coordination and control your body weight plus that weight you're lifting on your own. This is why free weight variations of squatting and RDOs are so important. So important. There's tons of people who have back pain that exclusively do machines and then consistently complain that they don't feel strong when they're picking something up in their real life. Is because you're not training in a way that mimics that. Certain things are not going to have carryover, and that's just the reality of it. So you really got to be honest about what we are training for and have that training plan actually mimic that, because a lot of people are saying they want one thing and then their program is giving them another. Like there's a disconnect. And if you want to be successful with whatever goal you're after, you need to have more alignment. This is also why farmer carries are really good, because they translate to something as simple as carrying your groceries in. I'm lazy. I don't want to make multiple trips with my groceries, so I'm trying to carry them in one trip. Like I'll load up a bag and I want to carry it in. So that's what I think about when I'm doing farmer carries. So more of the story is machines make you strong in that specific controlled setup, but free weights make you strong in real life. There's something else I wanted to hit on. Whatever. So you may be wondering after listening to this, what exactly should you use in your training? Because maybe you have a goal of, yes, getting stronger, but also building muscle, and you don't want to be going to failure on certain free weight exercises, right? Or you genuinely like using both, like me. I like to use machines and I like to use free weights. If you're wondering what you should use, the answer 99.9% of the time is you should use both. Both should be in your program, because at the end of the day, we are going to be training different things, right? It's going to get to a point where you'll just benefit from having the best of both worlds. So we need to know how to use both strategically. So if you can tailor your program based on your goals, whether it's, hey, I want to build muscle, I want to get stronger, but also I want to be able to do things in real life, we can use machines and free weights. It's not either or, it's literally both. So I think the biggest thing that people can do is think of what your goal is in the gym and think of what you want to do when you're 70, 80 years old. And if you write down those things, you'll realize that free weights is going to be good for what you want to do when you're older, as you are aging and just worrying about being independent, being able to do things on your own, not being a burden to the people around you. And then also, what do you want to do now? It's okay if it's vain. You want to look a certain way, you want to build certain muscles, you want to be able to do certain events right now, like a high rocks or a marathon. All those things are totally fine. But when you bring those two together, you'll realize that you will benefit from machines and you will benefit from free weights. So the next time that someone tries to make this a black and white debate, just know that it's not as simple as use exclusively machines or use exclusively free weights. Both things has its purpose. You just need to know what purpose you're using it for, and it should not be based out of fear. If that's one thing you take away from today, it should not be based out of fear. If we're making decisions solely out of fear, is likely not the best decision for you. And that has nothing to do with just the gym. That applies in all areas of life. I think a big part of being successful in your fitness journey or just in life in general is knowing what things are used for and how they can benefit you, as opposed to just saying, maybe I'm scared of this thing, so I'm going to gravitate towards what makes me feel safe, and actually knowing the nuances and the context behind the use cases for certain things. Because we're going to see a lot of things on social media. You are going to hear a lot of extreme statements, but if you want to successfully navigate that information and pull things out that apply to you, then you need to know how to have discernment and know how to kind of live in the gray area and pull things from both extremes and kind of bring it here and apply it to your own situation. And that's exactly what I help my clients with, because there's no shortage of information online. You can find all of this stuff on your own, but knowing how to apply it to your situation, knowing how to make it work for you, knowing when to use what is something that people really struggle with, and it's why people stay stuck in the same situations over and over and over again. So if you want expert eyes on your program, if you want help structuring your next cut phase, your next bulk phase, your recomp, another training plan, and you want to make sure that the stuff you're doing now actually aligns with your goals, or if you just want higher levels of accountability, higher levels of support, you want your form reviewed on different lifts, shoot me a DM, because I have tons of programs that can help with all those things. I have a lot of different options, from consultations, movement assessments, rehab programs, intensive lifting programs. Everything is completely customized to you. Nothing is pre-made. So if you're interested in working together, just DM me what's going on and we'll figure out what the best option is for you. And I'll catch you guys in the next video. Peace.